Howdy, Vine Trippers. I wanted to take just a moment to talk to you about the Texas Wine Lover website and their phone app for both iPhones as well as Google devices. You can actually download this app, put it on your phone, or just go to the website if you're not an app person. And if you ever want to go visit some of these great locations that we've been talking about in the podcast, this will give you a great information about the place before you go. And you'll be able to find other wineries in the area. So if you want to make a day of it, go see several other places as well. You can search by region. You can sort the listings, find ones that are kid-friendly, family-friendly, even ones that host RVs. All kinds of different sortable listings you can find there in that app and on the website. You can find other things as well in the area like restaurants, accommodations, maybe events that are going on at the different wineries. So it's your one-stop resource that goes hand in hand with this podcast to be able to find those great places to go visit. So check out the Texas Wine Lover website. It's txwinelover.com. Or go to their app. You can find it on the Google Play Store or the Apple Store as well. Enjoy your trips among the vines and use that app. Welcome to Texas Under Vine, an exploratory podcast to scout out the best that Texas wine country has to offer. I'm your wine guide, Scott, and I'm here to lead you on an auditory expedition to the vineyards and wineries across the great Lone Star State. Each episode will cover a different vineyard, winery, or wine-related business operating in Texas. You'll hear interviews, descriptions, and details about each location that will excite you to visit and experience them for yourself. Ready to plan a wine tour? Use these episodes to choose the most interesting spots for you and your friends to check out. Most of all, enjoy hearing about the rapidly growing wine industry in the state and what makes our wines and wineries the best. Howdy, fellow Vine Tripper. Welcome to episode 37 for the Texas Under Vine podcast. I am excited today to be able to take you a little bit north of Austin to a little place called Salado. And it's a little tourist town, and I'm going to be going to visit a winery today called Salado Winery Company and Wine Cellar. Now, this winery is owned and run by June Ritterbusch, and she got the idea way back in 2003. She was actually a helicopter pilot for the Army, which brought her to Fort Hood, and she decided to start a winery here. But she got the idea because in 2003, Bell County was actually a dry county. But you could sell other wines at Texas Wines there in Bell County, so she got the idea to open up the wine cellar. She actually planted some grapes back in 2005 near Salado, but it really wasn't until about 2008 that they moved into their current location. They were using a smaller location nearby from 2005 to 2008, but in 2008 they moved into their current location, selling, again, other people's wines, but she got the idea to actually start making her own wines in 2010. They do grow their own grapes there in Bell County, and they like to buy their fruit from local resources in the area. Sometimes she does have to stretch a little bit further, maybe up to the high plains, but she does like especially sourcing from the local area in the hill country in the central Texas area. Now, she prides herself on dry reds, some dessert wines. They actually make a really interesting port-style wine and even a sherry-style wine using a Solera system, which is kind of the main way that sherry is made, if you're familiar with that. They also make a sweet vermouth, which is not something you usually see in a lot of wineries, so you're going to want to hear a little bit in the interview when she talks about that as well. They are also part of the Stagecoach Wine Trail, which was actually mentioned in the previous episode, episode 36, when I visited with Moose and Goose Winery. They're part of that same wine trail, which was actually based here in Salado. Salado is known for a place called the Stagecoach Inn, so it just kind of fit with that wine trail. They're actually 8 different wineries as part of the Stagecoach Wine Trail. They will be running their wine passport style event next year in January, starting for basically the month of January in 2025. And for about $50 a person, you can go visit the 8 different wineries that are all kind of in a little stretch on the 35 corridor there in Central Texas. And you can do tastings at those wineries. It's really a cool deal. You should check that out if you're interested. Again, it's called the Stagecoach Wine Trail. Now, in addition to selling wine, making wine, and then providing wine to the Salado community and to Texas, they also do some really cool wine education classes on Thursday nights that they open up to the public to be able to get the public in to learn more about just all kinds of different aspects of wine. Their tasting room manager, Hannah, who you'll get to hear a little bit from in the interview, actually does a lot of those classes. So you'll hear a little bit about more of those in the interview as well. And did I mention interview? Yes. So while I was there, I did get to sit down with June for a little while. And then actually we were joined by Hannah, who came in and joined us. She's their tasting room manager. So you'll get to hear a little bit about the winery itself, their vision, kind of where they came from, and a little bit from Hannah about the ins and outs of the tasting room as well. So without further ado, why don't I go to that interview right now? Okay, so I'm here with June Ritterbusch here at Salado Winery. And so tell me a little bit about yourself. What got you into the wine industry?
First, I started out in life as an Army helicopter pilot.
Wow.
I did Army ROTC at Boston University, and I spent 10 years in the Army. I was stationed in Germany, Italy, Korea, Virginia, Alabama, and then Fort Hood was my last duty station.
Okay.
When I left the military, I went and got an MBA in France. I went to a school that was real geared towards international MBAs. And I thought I was going to go out and travel the world and be one of these overpaid consultants. And instead, I came back to Texas. My husband had his own business at the time, and it didn't really make sense to leave. So I wanted to find something to start my own business with. And strangely enough, I'm here in Salado, and Salado's been a tourist town for a long time. I was really attracted to the idea of starting a wedding gown shop. I want to do one of those high-end wedding gown shops where people come in and they sip their champagne and try on the gowns. But I started thinking a lot about fitting.
And they write you a check for $20,000.
Exactly. And I started thinking, oh, but I'm not a seamstress, and what do I do with cranky brides? And at the time, Texas was passed a rule. That was late 2003. There was a constitutional amendment that allowed Texans to sell Texas wine in a dry area, and it was dry here in Bell County at the time. And I got thinking about that and how we had a tourist town here anyway. And I thought, I think I need to bring wine to this town of Salado. So I started drinking wine more. I had already drank wine when I was stationed in Germany, and I had lived in France, and I had lived in Italy too, so I've drank plenty of wine. So I started researching and decided that I wanted to do a winery. So here I am many years later. That was in 2003 when I first got the idea. So I've always joked with people that they say, how did you get in the wine industry? I said, well, I was just drinking my way in. And the other way I tell the story is to say, when you drink a glass of wine and you get a fabulous idea, I just never let go, and I just kept drinking. And so here I am.
There you go.
So I studied winemaking at the Grayson Community College with lots of other folks here in the wine industry. And I worked with Les Constable at his winery in Alvin, Texas. It's called Brushy Creek Vineyards.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Back in 2004, in 2005. In 2005, we planted some vines out on Hill Road, which is south of Salado.
Okay.
And originally our plan was to build the winery there, but some things happened, and my mentor, Gabe Parker at Homestead Winery, said to me, Salado's that little touristy town. Why don't you see if you can lease something and get selling some wine? So I took him up on that idea, and I actually leased the Little Blue building next door originally. The person who owned this building was the landlord for that. And when she decided to sell this building, she sold me this building. This building was not built to be a winery, but it has turned out to be a fabulous building for a winery. So.
Yeah. And when was that you opened it up here?
So we started in 2005 with leasing, and I was selling other Texas wines.
Right.
And at the time, there was only about 40 or 50 wineries in Texas. So I was buying wines from people like Brushy Creek and Homestead Winery, and then I was selling them. And then we bought this building in 2008.
Okay.
And we started making wine here on the premise more like 2010.
Okay.
But I've been growing grapes since 2005.
Okay. And do you still have a vineyard somewhere? You talked about out on Hill Road?
Yeah, I still have the vineyard on Hill Road. When we planted it, it was about an acre, and we called it the test vineyard. After a year, we stopped calling it a test vineyard, and we just call it the vineyard. As in, yeah, the test was great. We don't need to plant more.
And then I take it the name of the winery just came from, you started, I presume, as Salado Wine Cellar because you were selling other people, and now you're Salado Winery from your own wines.
Correct.
Okay. Makes sense. Connections there. So is that your only place that you get your fruit from? Is that vineyard there, or do you source from other places as well?
We've bought grapes from lots of other folks as well. Okay. We've tried to, over the last few years, really focus on being as local as possible. Mm-hmm. And I have focused on making wines from Bell County grapes. Okay. In the future, though, I'll probably go a little further than just Bell County.
Okay.
It was tough last year during the drought, and Bell County didn't produce a lot of grapes.
Didn't produce a lot. Okay. And from what I understand, 2023 was a pretty big harvest, so it was just not as well in this particular county. Okay, gotcha. And then do you process all of those wines here on site?
Yes. I've processed up to 25 tons of grapes a year.
Okay. And you have your winery building here with all your production facilities and all that stuff?
Correct.
Okay, cool. So what are your favorite wines to make? What is it you're most proud of?
Overall, I enjoy making the dry reds more. Yeah. We're real proud of our dessert wines too.
Okay.
Our port and sherry style wines. And then I got to remember to tell you about our vermouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about it now.
Okay, the vermouth. So I don't know if you're familiar with vermouth. Sometimes people know vermouth from the dry white martinis. Mm-hmm. That's a dry white wine. Vermouth is a wine that has herbs and spices added to it. We do a sweet red vermouth. So it's not meant for those dry white martinis, but it's a sweet red vermouth. And it's made with some grapes that were grown on the Lampasas River in Belton. And they were harvested in 2012. Okay. And it's a very interesting wine. And so I'm looking forward to pouring it for you.
No, that's something that you would have, like, say, like in a Negroni or something like that, right? That kind of vermouth.
Yeah. Most of the people coming in and tasting wine aren't familiar with vermouth, but when we find people who are interested and curious about mixed drinks, then we start talking to them about about the vermouth and how we like to mix it. Okay. We really enjoy making seasonal punches with it. So, for example, in October, we slice up apples and soak them in it, and then the cinnamon sticks. And so it pulls out all that apple and cinnamon flavor, but we keep it chilled. So sometimes people think of cinnamon as just a hot, warm drink spice. Yeah. We like it as a chilled because in October in Central Texas, it's still 90 degrees out. And I wanted to have something that had the seasonal flavors, but is still refreshing. Yeah. So the vermouth gives me a way to put together a drink that satisfies in that way, in a way that a wine isn't going to. So this time of year we switch and we add citrus to it and use more of the citrus flavor punch.
Yeah, that's my secret ingredient when I make homemade sangrias. Put some cinnamon sticks in there. It really does.
Oh, that is super interesting.
It does really give a great feel to it.
Yeah, and at first I wasn't sure I was going to like cold and cinnamon together, but I think it fits really well in Texas when we're watching all the pumpkin latte advertisements, but it's still 90 degrees out.
Exactly, yeah, as that starts coming out. Okay, so what are some of your most popular wines with customers? What are the ones that people come in and say, I've got to get, if you go to Salado Winery, you got to get this one.
So our most popular over all the years put together is our very first wine. It's called Dillo Dally, and it's a sweet red wine. Okay. Once again, we keep it chilled, and so what happens is in the summer when it's 103 degrees out and people go through this dry wine tasting and, you
can already see the sweat building.
Yeah, and then I pour them a cold red wine, and they're like, oh, this is kind of good.
Refreshing.
Yeah, so I think it's partly just that it's so hot here. The the dry red wines don't always satisfy what you're looking for when you're thirsty.
Okay, cool. So do you put on any kind of like events or things like that here for people to come in and see the place, or you just do the tastings?
So we're here 7 days a week, and we always offer the tasting when we're open, and we're open every day 12 to 6. Our big annual traditions include the Stagecoach Wine Trail. That's the last couple weeks of January. That event at this time involves 8 different wineries in the region, and we like to do the event now for about a 10-day period, but we place it so it's over 2 weekends. So if we get bad weather, then we still have plenty of time to do the event. Let's see, some other annual events that are meaningful to us. Our town of Salado is real well known for people traveling here, and Salado Stroll is one of the biggest deals here. The first couple weekends of December, the shops all stay open late, and of course everything's decorated real nice for Christmas.
Right.
And folks enjoy going around town and seeing the sights and being with all their friends and
all the holiday shopping and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Another thing that I really we've gotten into over the past year is offering a Thursday evening wine tasting class.
Oh, cool.
We really wanted a way to present wine tasting with a lot of knowledge and education, but we wanted to do it in a small group setting, so it just changes it a little bit. Sometimes people don't want to stand there at the bar and do the tasting, but they want to be with some friends.
Yeah.
And we've gotten a real nice blend of regulars. Some are people who are new to the area, and they were just looking for a way to meet new people. And a few are people that love wine and just want to taste as many wines as they can.
Yeah.
So that's been real fun on Thursday evenings.
Wine brings people together, so what a great place to meet others and share stories.
Yeah.
And it's a less intimidating kind of thing sometimes, maybe, where you're just sitting at a table and relaxed, and I like that. That's really cool. Well, when people come in to do a tasting, you mentioned your hours. You said 12 to 6 every day?
Yes.
So what can a listener expect when they come in for a tasting? So what's the cost involved in a tasting? What are they going to get? Is it a set flight of wines? Do they choose their wines? What does it look like for it?
For us, we're currently charging 5 tastes for $10. We'll probably go up a little bit in price in the near future, but we have a list of 10 wines to choose from, and we let them pick what they want off of that list.
So they'll be able to select which of those 5 they want, and then go. That way you get different palettes for different things. Got it. I like that. And then what about, is the winery family friendly or pet friendly?
We allow pets. Dogs need to be on leashes. We have a winery cat. She's been with us for 12 years, and she does not want to see any dogs off leash. And I know everyone always tells me, oh, my dog loves cats. My cat does not love the dogs as much. She tends to flinch and run, so you need to have a good hold of that dog. We are also family friendly. Kids are welcome.
Okay. Do you offer any kind of food options for people, or can they bring their own food in?
Folks can bring in their own food. There's lots of great restaurants here in Salado. We have a little bit of snacks, but we don't mind people bringing in because we're not always well stocked. We do try to keep some non-alcoholic beverages and bottled water, of course. Okay.
What about group sizes, maximum group sizes? Do people need to make reservations? Do you have a maximum group size, or how does that?
We appreciate it if people give us a call before they show up with 10 or more people.
Sure. And then do they need to make a reservations for the tasting, or can they just walk in?
They can just walk in. We do have some folks just love to make reservations, and so we do have a reservation system if they really want to make a reservation. If you're going to show up with more than 10 people, give us a call ahead of time.
Yeah.
A lot of times we only have one person here, so if a group shows up and they're real big and then there's a couple other people.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
To give good service with that.
Yeah.
But if you know ahead of time, you can prepare and have that planned out. Gotcha. So what are your busy and slower seasons? What's the best time to come visit?
Oh, the best time to visit. See, I think wintertime is the best time to visit. It's so gloomy outside. What else would you do? You know, and it's so interesting because you've visited some wineries where they have beautiful views, and I can't claim we have the most amazing view because you can actually see I-35 from our property here, but we are so easy to reach.
Yeah.
So just come anytime. We meet lots of people coming off of I-35. We meet people from all over the world. I had some folks here the other day from Paraguay, like, you think, oh, Central Texas, what's there? But these are people that were here for Fort Hood, and they're doing international exchanges with the military. Baylor Scott and White is a large hospital system that's headquartered here. There's a lot going on here in Central Texas.
Well, and I would think that close proximity to 35 right there would be great.
Oh, yeah. For years and years, I had a billboard. And during COVID, we took the billboard down. It just wasn't sending the right message during COVID. And then we just haven't gone back. We just have never gone back to paying for it because the billboards have gotten so expensive.
Right.
But yeah, for the longest time, people knew us from our billboards.
Coming right in and
off.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about that Stagecoach wine trail is it kind of all follows right there, that little I-35 corridor.
Yeah, we had the hardest time coming up with a name for our wine trail because the obvious name would be the I-35 wine trail, but that isn't...
Ooh, that's sexy.
Like, yeah, get on I-35 and visit the wineries. We just...
Drink a bottle as you're going down 35. I'm sure some people are doing that.
And we were like, we don't want to get calls from TxDOT.
Exactly.
So we got thinking about transportation. And I mean, because I-35 follows the whole routes that people have always followed. It's all the easiest places to cross all the bodies of water. So, yeah, so we came up with Stagecoach, and that worked out fine. So.
Howdy, Vine Trippers. Did you know that I now have a merchandise store for Texas Under Vine? I only have a handful of limited items, but you can go check those out and wear your Texas Under Vine swag if you'd like to tell all your friends about the great wine locations we have here in Texas and maybe get them interested in the podcast as well. So there are things like t-shirts, there's a hoodie, there's a beanie, a ball cap, things like that. But one of the most exciting things I have right now is my limited time offer t-shirt. That's my Season 1 t-shirt. So this is your Tasting Through Texas Under Vine Season 1 t-shirt. It's only going to be available for a little short amount of time. On the back, it has all the different locations like a band tour t-shirt. So this is a limited time item and you can go out and get it now. And one of the great things about that t-shirt is a portion of every sale goes to support the Texas Hill Country Winery Scholarship Fund. So you know that by buying that t-shirt, you're also investing in the growing and flourishing of an amazing wine industry here in Texas and all of those people that are going to come and make it even better. Check out that merchandise store. It's on my website at texasundervine.com. Just go up to the top. You'll see the link for the merchandise store. And there's a history of that because I know there's the Stagecoach Inn here in Salado, so.
Yeah, and funny enough, everyone knows it as the Stagecoach Inn. The ownership has tried to rebrand it, and they're calling themselves the Shady Villa Hotel these days.
So it's different.
Yeah, but when you meet anyone in town, they're going to call it the Stagecoach Inn
always
still.
Growing up in Austin, my parents used to always go up to Stagecoach Inn for dinner and things like that.
That is so awesome. Salado's kind of a small town, but I find people all over the state know us for the Stagecoach Inn.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe they would associate that Stagecoach Wine Trail and immediately think of Salado.
We were kind of hoping that people might make that jump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good connection there. Do you offer a wine club?
We do not have a wine club.
So to come in, people are just going to come in to taste the wines?
Yeah, and we just try to treat people well. We don't want to bombard them with, oh, join our wine club. You got to do this and get this discount. And then, no, we just want to be simple. We keep our prices low.
Right.
We just want to greet everybody, love everybody. We want to have a conversation about wine. We don't, for example, I experimented years and years ago with some live music. It just didn't really fit for me because I like to talk to people about wine.
Yeah.
And if there's loud music in the background, then we're not having a conversation about wine. We, I know everybody says this. We want to meet people where they are and we want to talk to them about wine, but we really do want to help them understand where wine is coming from and where it's going and what does it mean to them. And, this is just the best industry. I was thinking about the other day, I've had a couple of people propose to their beloveds here.
Really?
Yeah, and then of course I meet people who are celebrating anniversaries and all kinds of things. Yeah, we've had a couple of wedding proposals here even.
Wow. Well, can I just say your reputation precedes you because I've had several people in the industry tell me before I came here, you're going to love June because when she does wine tastings, she's all about sitting down and being really educational, talk about all the different wines and everything. That's one of her passions. So I could see that kind of coming out in you right there.
Yeah, I mean, we are passionate. Everybody's passionate there.
Sure.
But we really want people to be able to relate. And wine can be hard to relate to in the beginning. You and I were talking about when you weren't familiar with wine. Because I got to live overseas in several different European places, wine was just in the background. It was so easygoing. And we want wine to be accessible to people.
Well, and the experience is different when you come in and somebody just pours you some, says, "Here you go," versus let's talk about what do you like, what are you getting in this? This is the story of this. This is, when you get really involved in because wine is a story in a bottle, right? And so to be able to talk about all of that and share all of that makes a completely different experience than somebody's just sort of pouring some stuff.
Yeah, and that's why we've never gotten into the wine club thing, because we want to know people and talk to them, and we want to do a good job of sending them home with the right wine, and then they'll come back. We don't have to force you back that you had to buy a certain number of bottles to get a certain % off. Like, your family, like, you don't have to pay us to be part of the family.
Gotcha. Well, if you don't have the wine club, how can people experience your wines if maybe they can't come here? Do you do any kind of distribution, or do you sell online?
We sell online.
Okay.
I'm very, very limited with distribution. We just are selling right now a few bottles to our friends at the Beltonian Theater in Belton. And then our friends over here, there's a brewery here in town called Barrel Brewery. Okay. We're great friends with them. We sell them wine and cider. And that's it. You got to come see me. We're small. Usually we're processing a few thousand gallons a year, bottling and processing. And so you just got to come see us and meet us.
Okay. Very much the boutique style. So.
Yeah. And come pet the cat. Our winery cat is 12 years old. She's been greeting people for 12 years. So.
Yeah, growling at the dogs. Or hissing, maybe.
Yeah.
So on your website, they get access to, so you can see all your different wines, order things there, but then they can also come in and buy things as needed by the case or by the bottle or as they need. Okay. By the way, we are joined by Hannah Hendrick, who is the tasting room manager for Salado Winery. So glad to have you here as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, TV Munson.
Yeah.
The amount of people that I've
Texas.
talked
I've not heard of this book, so.
Oh no! So I'm glad I pulled it out.
Yeah.
So you've heard the TV Munson story.
Oh yeah, I know TV Munson. I tell his story on my wine tours. So I talk about.
Yeah. This is just a very detailed academic.
That's really cool.
I mean, it can be. I've never read it. It's pretty boring.
Sure, but they get to pull some great stuff out of that.
Yeah, and then it happens. Like one of the rootstocks that's real common is called Dogridge, and Dogridge is right over here, between here and Belton.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, because the name Dogridge, it just sounds so familiar.
Yeah.
And like Dog Hill or this, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't. But I was like, oh my gosh, here it is, one of the most popular rootstocks, and it's used all around the world. It's from right here in Bell County. A lot of this guy T.V. Munson, the places he gathered vines that he shipped over, it was right here. The places where Fort Hood is now and Stillhouse Lake.
They said that he used to ride around on horseback all over the state, just collecting different rootstocks and things like that. So, wow.
I do wine classes on Thursdays, and I talk about him a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people who are either from traveling or who are from Texas are like, I've never heard of that guy. And I was like, oh my God. literally drinking stuff like that.
Okay, well, do you have any plans for future growth here at the Salado Winery?
I think we're doing really well currently. We're really excited to just keep meeting people, keep talking to people about wine, and just improving on what we're working on right now.
Cool.
We've been at this for about 18 years, and I have very definite ideas about what I want to do with my business and what I don't want to do with my business. And at this point in time, I want to look at improving the quality of the wine I'm making. I'm not interested in making more wine or getting into distribution. I just want to be the queen of wine at Salado Winery.
The best at what you do.
That's right.
All right. Well, there's a lot of places that people could go visit for wine, for different places throughout the state. And my podcast goes out hopefully to people who are looking all through Texas. So why should they stop in Salado and check out the Salado Winery while they're here? What sets you apart?
The first thing that sets us apart is how easy we are to reach. We're right here in the heart of Texas, and we're just a stone's throw from I-35. So there is no reason people couldn't come see us. There's no long, gravelly driveway with potholes.
Which country road am I turning on now? Did I take the right?
But yet we still have deer running around on the lawn.
There you go. Texas.
Yes.
but we're always doing something. We're always working on something. We usually have a lot of the equipment out, and it's kind of fun to see because sometimes you don't get to see that. Sometimes you go to a tasting room and you get to talk and hear about it. But the winery is right here, and I take people literally around the corner, and I have people who come in and ask me all the time, so where do you guys make it? And I'm like, oh, behind this wall. You want to go see it? Come on. And they get super excited, like, are we even allowed to be back here? And I'm like, yeah, I'm the person who's letting you.
Special.
It's really cool because June put up a lot of awesome pictures in the winery of the winemaking process. So even if you don't see it, you can see it and see what we're doing here. And we do it every summer. And so we always have a little something going on. There's a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, one of the requirements to work here is that you got to take part in the winemaking and the grape picking, and so everybody has gotten their hands on it, and everybody can talk about it.
Your title's not just your job; everything's your job.
Yes, we're small but mighty.
I love it. So tell me a little bit more about this vermouth. I've not run into a lot of wineries that have had vermouth. I know that it's grape based. And I've had it in cocktails or different things, but I want to know more about it. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, all crazy things start from something that you just can't quite get your hands around, right? Like this was some black Spanish grapes that we picked in 2012. They were grown right here in Belton, Texas, near the Lampasas River. And this wine has always had a different character. And so we had to find a different path for this wine. And we really enjoy talking to people about how it mixes and how we use it in cocktails. And
we've done a different stuff with it, and it's the same thing that you say. People come in and they see the menu, and we talk about the dessert wines, and I always start off like, I have a vermouth and a port and a sherry. And people are like, whoa, what do you mean a vermouth? A lot of people don't know that vermouth is wine-based either. They just know it's a mixer in a cocktail, and there's a lot of different ways to use it. You can sip on it. We've mixed it, especially during the Thanksgiving, Christmas season. I make a holiday punch that we have as like a bonus extra thing to try. It's really, really good. We do the vermouth, a little bit of cherry juice, some apple, and some cinnamon, and it's just something really simple, but it's so wonderful around the holiday season and so easy to make, and it's kind of a cool thing to show off. I got this vermouth and I've done something different with it, and it's kind of a really cool conversation piece. It also just tastes good. Like it's also just an easy day, everyday sipper. So
well, that right there is something that would make people want to come here because again, that's not something you're going to get at most places, and you got to try that. So. Well, and I think you mentioned a little bit about some educational classes, Hannah, that you're doing. So tell me about that. You mentioned, I think, a little bit about that on Thursdays.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Thursdays at 6 when the regular winery closes, the after hours party starts.
The after party.
The after party. I work with a lot of international wine, and I was really new to wine, and so my idea for these classes were folks around the 21 to 28 range who could be getting into wine. Who have questions like, what is a Merlot? Why is that different than a Cabernet Sauvignon? What is Bordeaux all about? I've been hearing about different places, and I didn't even know they grew wine in Argentina. So it's all of these different things that people who are new to wine, who I originally assumed would be a younger demographic. It's not. It's moved into a lot of really cool mixes of age range and people who are just interested in wine. I have a little bit of a background in history, so sometimes I'll pick 5 different Cabernet Sauvignons from 5 different countries, and I talk just a little bit about why does Cab grow so light here? Why is it so heavy here? Why is it so famous here? On those countries, and then we taste them and we talk about them. I go through the winemaking notes that I get from the wineries, like the winemaker said this is going to have aroma of cedar box and graphite, and what does that mean? Or the tasting notes are really interesting. I've run into a lot of people who I came across mushroom as a tasting note on Pinot Noir a lot, and every time I say that, people are like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh my gosh, I thought this was common, but it's not. It's totally not. So these classes are meant for people who are getting into wine, who are new to wine, and who just like wine and like talking about it. And so it's kind of something fun to do, kind of something that gets you out of the house on a Thursday evening to try some good wines and learn a little bit about something that maybe you didn't know the full story of.
Do you keep like any kind of a calendar online or anything? Kind of shows you what subject you're going to be doing?
Yeah, definitely. I try to post it a month out in advance. On our Facebook page under our events tab. I should have the ones for the current month plus the next month, and then especially our Eventbrite page as well. Sometimes the Eventbrite page has newer things that haven't been published to Facebook yet. So I always say that one's a better resource to see.
So people can look ahead of time and plan, I want to be at that one.
Yeah, we're trying to throw one funny one in a month. Instead of just saying, Pinot Noir, Cabernet Sauvignon, Chardonnay. Some of our fun themes have been like pie and wine pairing.
I've
done a lot of dessert nights, dessert and wine pairing, food and wine pairing theory. I think the funnest one was Halloween candy and wine pairing. Nobody says they like candy corn, but everyone agreed it was the best with Chardonnay. Like, hands down. Even the candy corn haters loved it. So it was really kind of fun and kind of cool to try.
That's cool.
So.
Yeah, I've always, I've seen, it's funny how some foods are so enhanced by a wine or vice versa through pairing. And so I'll have to try I'm not a candy corn fan myself, so I'll have to try that with Chardonnay next time.
You might be swayed.
Next Halloween, I can write that down.
Right?
Candy corn by Chardonnay.
We've done too, when I did pies, everyone loved the blueberry pie by itself, and I paired it with a Mourvedre, and we all agreed that it was a horrible pairing. It made the wine flat, and it made the blueberries bitter, and so it's kind of fun to try, because every now and again I'll throw a curveball in there, like, you might think this is delicious, and it's just because it's kind of fun. Food and wine science is always really interesting to me, because everyone's taste and smell
is subjective, right?
So different. So it's really kind of fun because you don't know what you like until you try it. So.
Exactly. Cool. All right. That is so true. Palates are very subjective. And I love what Hannah said about you don't know what you like until you try it. So have an open mind and try different things at different places that you go check out. You might just find something that you never knew you liked. Like, for instance, this is a great place to be able to try a port-style wine if you haven't done that, or a sherry style. This is a sherry style. It's a sweet dessert style sherry. There's different types of sherries out there. This is more of the sweet dessert style sherry. It's really cool. You ought to try that one. They also have that vermouth. Again, something that you don't get to try at just any winery, and you get to try those things here at Salado Winery Company. They have those great Thursday educational classes. So if you're anywhere in the area on a Thursday, make sure to check out their Facebook page and their Eventbrite for more information on those classes that are coming up and find out more about going and sitting in on one of those. And as you heard in the interview, June actually started the winery selling other people's wines. Well, she continues that fine tradition. So it's not just Salado Winery Company, it's Salado Winery Company and wine cellar. So one of the things you'll have to do while you're there is request to see the back room. It's one of those little fun secrets. She's got a little back room in the back where she actually gets wine from wine shipments. Now, this is stuff that you're not just going to find everywhere. And it's not just Texas wine. It's fancy wines from all over the world. She has shelves in the back full of all kinds of different ones, and they're all kind of limited edition. So when she sells out of them, she may not ever get that one again. So it's a great opportunity when you're at the store to ask for the back room and go see. She's got some great specials on bottles back there. You're going to find a lot of cool different wines that maybe you haven't tried or tasted before, and they are kind of limited edition. You never know what's going to be in stock back there each time you go. Now, this winery, as June said, is very easy to get to. If you're driving anywhere in Texas up that I-35 corridor and you get into Central Texas, it's literally right off I-35. As she said, if you were standing at the front porch of the building you're looking out, you see the 35 highway right there, the frontage road. So it's a real easy dip right off I-35 to stop in and check it out, and I encourage you to do so. But before you do, make sure you go check out their website before you go. It's www.saladowinery.com. And on their website, you can find out more about that incredible story of the winery, see their wines that they have available there, and info on their events like those classes and the Stagecoach Wine Trail, which, by the way, the Stagecoach Wine Trail is celebrating its 6th year coming up this coming year in January in 2025. The one for this year's already happened, so you have to wait. It's a once a year thing, but it will come back again in January of 2025. The dates are already there. You can actually go ahead and go online and see information about tickets. I think they're going to begin selling tickets in November, so keep your eyes on that. Again, that one is stagecoachwinetrail.com. And with that passport, you're able to get 8 different wineries along the Central Texas I-35 corridor. So great opportunity to check that out. I've actually done podcasts now at several of the wineries in that Stagecoach Wine Trail, so you can hear about those before you go as well. Also, make sure you don't skip out on their Facebook page and that Eventbrite page if you're interested in any of those Thursday night classes. Hannah said in the interview that she likes to put those calendar events up about 2 months or so ahead of time. So you should be able to kind of see down the road the different things that are coming up so you can make plans to go visit. And don't forget, when you go to see them, make sure you tell them you heard about them on this podcast, Texas Under Vine. All right, now, after we were able to conclude the interview, I got to go in and enjoy and taste some different wines that they make there, and I had to pick one for my library bottle. So for this particular episode, I really liked their Big Bully wine. This is a Mourvedre, and it's from McLennan County, and it was really nice and smooth, kind of velvety on the tongue. I really like the kind of earthy blackberry notes that I got in that Big Bully wine. So this is my wine library bottle for this particular episode. And then while I was there, I also got to taste that sherry, and I don't want you to neglect that. If you've never tried sherry before, or even if you have, you really need to try her sherry. It was so caramely and nutty in flavor, great dessert wine. I've already finished off the bottle that I bought and planning a trip to go back up there to get a little bit more from June in the near future. So check that out if you haven't tried that as well. I can't speak highly enough of it. Well, that brings me to a close for today. I think it's about time to head on out to the stagecoach and mosey on down the road to find another great wine destination to bring to you. But before I go, I would ask a quick favor from you. If you are enjoying the information that you're receiving from this podcast, if you feel like you've gotten any information that's helped you to learn more about the Texas wine industry, to learn more about different destinations you can go visit, maybe if you've even used the podcast as a spur to go visit some of these great places, would you consider leaving me a rating and review wherever you get this podcast? And if you're watching it on YouTube, you can click the like and subscribe button and maybe leave me a comment. If you've come and visited Salado Winery before, leave your comments below in YouTube to be able to tell me what you thought about the winery itself and your experience with it. And just leave that quick rating and review. It does help me get seen before a lot of other subscribers and other people who might be interested in this information. So I would appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. It really helps me go further in this. And I do relish any feedback that you would like to provide, either through those ratings, the reviews, or if you want to send me an email at scott@texasundervine.com and tell me what you think of the show or any suggestions or ideas that you might have as well. Well, it's time for me to go. So don't forget to subscribe to my socials to be notified anytime a new podcast is released. It's at Texas Under Vine. And until then, happy trails and bottoms up, y'all. Thanks for listening to Texas Under Vine. We strive to provide you with the best information about wine businesses all over Texas. Be sure to check out our website at texasundervine.com and follow us on our socials at Texas Under Vine to stay up on all the upcoming episodes. Please email us with any suggestions or feedback. Also, contact us if you're interested in donating, sponsoring, or advertising on the podcast, just to help us cover our expenses and bring even more great info to you in future episodes. Above all, travel safely, and most especially, drink responsibly. Vine Trippers, have I got a deal for you? So if you haven't checked out the Texas Wine Club yet, you have to go check it out. So you can get wine clubs at all of these different great wineries that I've talked about in the episodes. But if you can't get a chance to get to those places and you want to sample some of those various wines, this is the perfect fit for this podcast. So I've partnered with Texas Wine Club. If you go to their website, they scour the whole state. They choose great wines from all over the Texas wineries, and they put them together into packs that they ship out every quarter. You could pick out a package of 3, 6, or 9 bottles, and every quarter you can get a taste of different wineries throughout Texas without having to travel to them. So if you've wanted to taste some of the great wine I've talked about on this podcast, here's your chance without having to travel. So what you're going to want to do is go to www.txwine.com and pick your package that you want to try. And when you put in my code, Texas Under Vine, that's all one word, TEXASUNDERVINE, as your coupon code, you'll get $20 off your purchase. So head on over there. You can also find the link in the show notes here for this podcast, and go check out Texas Wine. They're a perfect fit with this podcast. So go drink some great wine.